Hello, everyone, and welcome to a surprise and special adventure / review episode of 2 Weeks One Shot, a tabletop RPG variety podcast. My name is Alex Rodriguez, and I'll be running tonight's campaign. On today's episode, we'll be playing a new system called Apotheosis, which is currently in its second to last week of its Kickstarter campaign, ending on October 7th. We were contacted by Ian Tassin, the game developer working on Apotheosis, who asked us if we'd like to play the game ahead of its release, which we said sounds awesome. And he sent us over a pre-release copy of the game book. Today, I'm joined by one of our regular co-hosts and a special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian, also known as Helix Missionary. You guys all know who I am. I've been here lots of times.
Hello, this is Mike Daniel from 19 Hits the Dragon.
Woo!
The tabletop discussion RPG podcast. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. Thank you for helping us out to review this new system.
Absolutely.
Couldn't imagine having anyone better to join us on this short journey to figure out Apotheosis. So, here's some quick preliminary information about Apotheosis. Apotheosis is a dynamic tabletop role-playing game with a fantasy setting that aims to keep gameplay feeling fresh and exciting, even for veteran players of TTRPGs. The game boasts over 500,000 character builds and classes, so characters feel unique and customizable to a variety of playstyles. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in checking out and want to learn more, head on over to their website, apotheosisrpg.com. That's apotheosisrpg.com. From there, you can learn more about the game, its creators and contributors, and find their Kickstarter page, which is ongoing through October 7th, has unlocked a bunch of stretch goals, and has a variety of pledge tiers that offer a variety of benefits. That webpage, one more time, is apotheosisrpg.com. Check it out. For today's adventure, we'll be doing things just a little differently. We're going to have a short homebrew adventure using the rules of Apotheosis. Thank you again, Ian. And then we're going to transition into a review segment where we'll each give our thoughts on the system. You came for an adventure episode, and you also get a review episode all wrapped up in one. So, now, as the cold creeps in from the north and necessity turns to desperation, let's get ready, steady, roll. Tonight's adventure is titled The Coldest Season. The remote outpost of Ravensholde is located at the base of Thir, or, as the humans call it, the God's Nail, a towering mountain with a near vertical incline on one side whose peak seems almost to scratch at passing clouds. In recent weeks, the outpost has experienced an influx of settlers traversing the unruly trails across the surrounding frozen tundra, hoping to make their way past the God's Nail to the coast. As the winter season becomes harsher and travel comes to a halt, tensions between the temporary occupants and permanent residents of Ravensholde have come to a head, resulting in a rise of petty crimes and small-town conflicts, as the outpost prepares to settle in for what appears to be the coldest season yet. Saddled with the burden of keeping the peace is the local constabulary. With the ranks dwindling due to the lack of appeal for policing in the winter, the sheriff has announced a recruiting effort promising steady pay that is open to both settlers and residents. This is where you find yourselves today, standing outside the sheriff's station as the sun begins to make its way behind Thir. A crowd surrounds the station as a tall orc woman and a shorter humanoid walk out onto the steps and call the crowd into attention. Well, great to see everyone here today. I'm Sheriff Nihao, and as you can tell, we're into the cold season, and the pass through the God's Nail, it's pretty much snowed over. That means anyone looking to get to Anthir Port is here to stay for the season. I'd love to say that we're all getting along famously, but yesterday's, for lack of a better word, kerfuffle, she does air quotes as she says the word, kerfuffle, out at Rel's Tavern is evidence to the contrary. You hear some murmurs in the crowd as she brings up the incident.
Serves that townie right.
Guy looked like he'd gone nutso, dude.
Had to tell Igor's wife later. She said he'd been.
Seriously, the back of the head?
Quiet down now, Nihal calls out. Look, for better or worse, we're all here together. And that means we need to get along and work together. Otherwise, we'll be at each other's throats before a hint of the first thaw. Nihal takes a pause and sighs. The fog of her breath drifts upward around the wide brim of her hat. Now, Deputy Josen here is going to hold a few drills to assess your capabilities and such, she says, motioning over to the shorter humanoid figure bundled up in a heavy coat standing to her side. Y'all go ahead and follow his instructions, and we'll get you all some assignments soon enough. Josen steps forward and claps his hands together. All right, you bumpkins. I'm going to pick 4 of you for a quick 2v2 combat assessment. So let's see. He moves his gloved hand about the crowd. Let's see. We're going to pick you, and yeah, that guy. He points to a stout dwarven woman near the front of the crowd, a human man, and the 2 of you. All right, then. Go ahead and introduce yourselves before you beat the spit out of each other.
Well, hello, I'm Dane Silverhoof. And up steps a Antherian male deerfolk with huge antlers sticking up off of his head, kind of a fur, leather, or hide armor, I guess, and a longsword and a shield. Looks like he's ready to fight.
Also stepping up alongside of the others is another Antherian. This one is a ratfolk, quite, shorter than even the dwarf, all of the others stepping forward. He also is apparently a male ratfolk. He steps forward. He has a short but serviceable looking bow in one hand and is wearing sort of like leatherish armor. He gives a nod and looks around and, well, my name is Lloyd, and yeah, let's get to it, I guess.
So for anyone wondering who's obviously new to Apotheosis, which is everybody, an Antherian is a descendant offspring of human and nature spirits, such as nymphs and dryads, so they have humanoid posture and structure, but with animal-like characteristics. Where the fuck is Harold? That can come in a variety of different types, so right anywhere from bear folk, cat folk, deer folk, fox folk, owl folk, rat folk, wolf folk. That's the majority of the types. As you heard, that's what Mike and Brian are. You all look over next to you at the dwarf woman, and she goes, well, my name's Huck, and I like to, and then the human man speaks up and he goes, my name's Huck too. What? Yeah, my name's Huck too. No, my name's Huck. You can't be Huck. How's that? Yeah, my name is Huck too.
Wait, so is 2 the last name? Is that are you Huck too?
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing here. Are you Huck and Huck too?
No. I'm saying,
or like Huck and also Huck.
I am Huck, TOO. What are the fucking coincidences?
I wasn't sure about that. I was wondering.
Okay.
You gotta enunciate a little bit better there, friend. Make yourself a little clearer.
Yeah, come on, Jesus.
It's cold. My mouth is falling asleep. I have a hard time in the winter. So Josen then motions for you all to follow him towards the back of the sheriff's station, where they have a plot of land that is kind of set up for this sort of combat assessment, right? So you're dealing with about a 40 by 40 foot area. It is scattered with tree cover, and it has several boulders strewn about. He then instructs Dane and Lloyd to go to one side of the plot, and then Huck and Huck to go to the other side. So I'll give you all a little bit if you want to strategize yourselves. Mm-hmm. And once you're ready, we could start combating the shit out of each other.
Well, Dane, you look like you're a little bit more of a meaty kind of type. I mean, I'm a little smaller. I got my bow. I have a knife here, but I don't know. It's kind of a knife that's designed for killing people, and I don't know if that's really what they want us to go in for here. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is get up in one of those trees or on one of those rocks maybe, and just start shooting motherfuckers. and you can what is it that you do?
I hit things real good with my sword. I think it's kind of also for killing people, but I'm gonna try not to be quite so lethal. I think
we can probably assume maybe that that's an occupational hazard on this one.
Yeah. You put yourself at risk if you come out for these sort of things. So
yeah. I mean, hey, they're not giving us any like training weapons. They're just having us go at it. So I think we're good.
Yeah, exactly. The sword's real sharp for sure.
From somewhere on the other side of the plot of land, you hear Huck yell out, "Are we supposed to like kill each other, or what's the deal?" To which you hear Josen say, "Look, you blumpkins, all right, if you're signing up for a job for law enforcement, there's a possibility you're gonna die. So it's tough living out here on the frontier, so if you gotta kill each other, you gotta kill each other." To which you hear other Huck say, "Well, that doesn't sound very, progressive toward trying to staff up your sheriff's station here." "Well, I'm not really particularly worried about that. I just want to get the best of the best out there. So..."
Wait, so is this express permission that we're allowed to kill those guys?
I think he says we have a license to kill. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Like you said, occupational hazard, so.
Not really a big change of plans, but that means the knife might come into play. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't say so much a license as a learner's permit to murder.
So as long as we have someone who has a license to murder in the combat encounter as well, we're allowed to do it. I get you. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Consider me your teacher in killing.
Murder instructor. Got it.
All right. Let me just make sure everything's ready here. And Lloyd, he does a couple of stretches, but as he's stretching, he also hacks and spits and mutters a few words in the therianthropic language that involve invoking the spirits of nature to aid him in being nimble and quick. And I am going to go ahead and cast the jump spell on myself.
Very nice.
Spell casting inside of Apotheosis have 4 different categories: AoE, single target effect, multi-target effect, spell attacks, all that good stuff. You're generally going to be able to cast depending on a mana maximum that you have, and then a mana expenditure limit, and spells are, instead of broken down by level, they are broken down by cost. So in this instance, what cost does your spell Jump have, Brian?
Jump has a mana cost of 1, and Lloyd, being a caster, he took that ability when I was creating the character. That was one of the abilities that I could take with him, being that he has an intelligence of 3. He was able to get from that. His mana maximum is 3 also, because it's equal to his intelligence. And he has the base expenditure limit of 1. So that's the only amount of mana that he would be able to spend on a single spell. He can't cast anything more powerful than Jump. He can't do the special rules. Apotheosis has some interesting methods for making spells. Every spell in the game is a little more flexible in what it can do in a lot of ways. And so Jump, if I were able to spend more mana on it, I could also apply it to my good friend here, or anyone else for that matter, but alas, I cannot, so he's only going to cast it on himself. And it does mean that he is going to be able to double his horizontal and vertical jumping distance for the duration of the spell, which is 4 hours.
Hot stuff you're able to do. That's great.
Speaking of mobility options, looking around, are there any spots in this combat arena, for lack of a better term, that might be considered difficult terrain? Any places that are especially rocky or covered in snow or anything like that?
You do see a good amount of the plot of land is covered in snow.
Okay.
That is going to maybe affect movement speed just a little bit, so it might be reduced by about 33% movement speed.
Because I'm a versatile runner, or because Dane is a versatile runner, I've trained fluidly through just about any terrain. Difficult terrain is only half as detrimental.
Nice. So it's 16%.
So I just need to do a little bit of math real quick to figure out how well I can move through that.
We're all going to do a little bit of math real quick, apparently.
You can move faster than the other people in that terrain, at the very least.
That's what that's going to equate to, for sure. Combat in Apotheosis also starts off with rolling initiative. So why don't we all go ahead and do that real quick?
All right. And remind us, Alex, for everyone learning along at home with us, when we roll initiative in Apotheosis, is that going to be just rolling the d20 and adding our dexterity modifier?
Yeah, it's going to be a 1d20 plus your dex. The highest total goes first, and so on. Now, here's an interesting twist for Apotheosis is tied initiative results don't get resolved by seeing who has a higher dex. Instead, those actions take place simultaneously.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, okay. Well.
All right. Well, that might come into play because I didn't roll that well.
Me either. I get a 10 total.
I got an 11 total.
Ooh, a little bit quicker than me.
Human Huck only rolled a $5. Doing great in comparison to him. Now, Dwarf Huck, which yes is a lady's dwarven name, is actually going to have a 16.
Ooh.
Damn.
All right, so they're starting off from the other end. She's going to start making her way towards the end that you all are on, and she's going to move forward her full movement, which I believe is 24 feet, but when affected by this, is now 16 feet. And she's going to attempt to hide herself by rolling a stealth check, which she does not have expertise in, so that kind of sucks.
What is expertise in Apotheosis, Alex?
What an excellent question, Brian. When a player has expertise on a skill or a check or a type of weapon, they are able to add 1.5 times the appropriate attribute to that d20 roll. And also, if a player has expertise in something and a negative related attribute, they just add a 0 instead of negative value. So in this instance, Huck is going to try to roll stealth, and she is not an expert in that. If you have line of sight on her, you would see that she quickly ducks into like a group of trees and begins to try to get behind them, but it's like a small grouping of about 4 trees around her. You're able to tell where she went, but you're not able to tell which tree in that grouping she's behind. That is going to end her turn. Next up in the order is Lloyd.
All right. Well, Lloyd is going to try to sort of stick to the plan of Dane is going to go in and hit people with a sword, and I'm going to shoot people from somewhere up high. So Lloyd is going to take a quick look around. Now, I have a speed of 30 feet base, and I do have my jump spell active, so I can potentially jump to clear some difficult terrain and get up somewhere. Is there perhaps a good boulder or like a low branch in a tree that I could try to get up to using my movement on this turn, Alex?
Yeah, certainly. So as I mentioned, the plot of land is scattered with tree coverage and a couple of different boulders. Close enough to you, even with your diminished movement, you're able to get over to a boulder that you could then probably jump over to a low-hanging branch. With your enhanced jump, though, you'd be able to make that easily.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, with the jumping, I can clear quite a bit of distance without really needing to worry about anything, without needing to roll for it or anything right now.
Perfect. Yeah.
So Lloyd is going to sort of nimbly, scramble up onto the boulder, jump over to the branch on a tree, and then if he has line of sight on Dwarf Huck, since she is attempting to sort of be sneaky, he'll go ahead and take a first shot at her and leave the other one to his partner. But if he doesn't really have eyes on her or can't figure out exactly where she is, he'll just shoot at whatever target he can see.
So here's the question. We're all learning Apotheosis as we go. In my mind, I would think you'd have to roll like an awareness check to try and see if you could see her, right?
Yeah, I think that's how that goes.
That makes sense to me.
I know the action economy in this game's a little different though, right? It's divided into minor and major actions and then a couple of free actions.
I think a lot of things are sort of left up to the GM to decide in a lot of cases. If I remember from reading through the book, I don't remember if it called out exactly what action it is for an awareness check to try and notice someone, but I do know it gives a lot of leeway in decision making to the game master who's running the game to decide how much time and effort things like that might happen to take for a character.
In this instance, that you're trying to spot her while she's quote unquote probably in cover, I would say that you'd have to roll an awareness check and go ahead and try and beat a 13 for me.
Okay, I believe awareness falls under the Constitution attribute. So let me go ahead and roll. I do have a 1 there. I do not have expertise in awareness. So let's see if I pull this off. I do. That's an 18.
All right, yeah, you're able to see in the group of 4 trees, right? There's one that sticks out a little bit behind a boulder, and you're able to spot, she's looking out and her elbow's out. You're able to see her. She does not see you up in the tree, though.
At risk of announcing my presence to her, I am going to take a shot. So first I'm going to use my major action to go ahead and attack her. And because I'm using my bow, that's going to be a ranged weapon, so I use dexterity as the attribute. And I do have expertise with bows by virtue of my thief background. One of the options for that was gaining expertise with a weapon class.
Now, one thing to keep in mind as you're also taking this shot, she is behind partial cover.
Okay, so what's that going to do?
So when behind cover, you gain various benefits, and there's different levels of cover. There's half cover, 3/4 of cover, or full cover, and complete cover. I'm going to say in this instance, she's only half cover. So what that's going to do is it's going to add a +3 bonus to defense, and also a +3 bonus to saving throws against area of effect spells.
Well, she's getting that +3 to her defense then, so I will go ahead and roll with expertise on my bow. I think I have a pretty good shot at this. Oh my god, it was a natural 20. Would you believe it?
Nice.
I believe it, and I hate it, and I wish it didn't happen, but it did.
Excellent.
So what happens on a critical hit in Apotheosis?
We get to talk about a lot of rules all of a sudden now.
Yay!
Yeah, well, that was the idea. If natural 20 is rolled on an attack, the attack is considered critically true. I wish I had like a fighting game button where I could, like, you know, when you hit someone, it goes counter, right? We have critically true. Critically true strikes are true strikes, which is considered a successful strike, regardless of a target's defense. Critically true strikes deal extra 1d4 damage, which is going to be the same damage type as the attack you're making, and cannot be avoided with EP, which we will explain in a second, even if the rest of the damage is avoided.
And EP, I believe, correct me if I get any of this wrong, Alex, but if I remember right.
We're going to get so much wrong. I'm sorry, Ian.
EP, I think, stands for evasion points or energy points. I think it can be either.
It seems to be both.
And it's sort of this, like, instead of hit points, you have these, which are explicitly for dodging or avoiding damage from an attack, instead of just sort of like soaking it up and not caring.
Yeah, you can also occasionally spend EP to do additional things like turning a major action into a minor action, things like that. But it is kind of your stamina pool.
And if you run out, then you're in danger if anyone keeps attacking you. But I have managed to somewhat bypass that.
If you run out, then you're hucked.
Yeah.
Hey!
Just like this lady. All right, so here we go. My base attack itself, the base damage from my true strike from my bow, is going to be 2, because it's my bow also just deals 1d4. I don't have a strength bonus, so that doesn't apply or anything. But my critically true strike has dealt 3 damage, which cannot be avoided with Huck's EP.
Yeah. So what you see here is you pull out your bow, you steady your sight, you're able to see her elbow there, right? And you pull back the string, you let loose, and you see that what happens is the bow goes, and as it's going, it actually kind of swipes the tree a little bit, so she's able to move out of the way, but that extra bit of damage actually deflects the bow, and it goes right into the side of her arm.
I assume you mean the arrow. I didn't throw my bow.
Yeah, you shoot the...
Throwing bows.
Yeah.
God, as cool a character as that would be.
It's like a boomerang, it goes. No, sorry. You shoot your arrow, it hits the tree causes it to ricochet ever so slightly, and even though she tries to move back behind cover at the sound of it, that ricochet causes it to move in just such an angle that it goes pretty much right above her elbow.
So she is effectively like spending 2 EP and then taking
Exactly.
3 points as a wound. Now, what is that? I know that the wounds are tracked separately and tracked more importantly in some ways than EP.
Yes.
Because they trigger a lot of extra stuff.
So really, another interesting thing about Apotheosis is you don't necessarily have like a hit point pool, right? You're working more off of avoiding damage, and when you receive damage, you are wounded if you are not able to avoid it or absorb it in some way. And when you are wounded, you also have varying degrees of wounds, and that is also accompanied by death saves that go with each of these wounds. Whenever a creature is wounded, it must make a death save. So I'm going to be making a Constitution saving throw that determines the severity of the wound that I just received. So I just took 3 damage. I couldn't avoid it at all, so I have to succeed on a DC 3 death saving throw. Or else, I fucking die.
Rough. And being that it's a saving throw, if memory serves, that's just the special clause for you're rolling your attribute modifier. You never get expertise on those.
Yeah, since it's just an attribute. So I'm going to be making a Constitution saving throw.
Being that she's a dwarf, I imagine she'll be fine.
Will she, Brian? Will she?
I mean, I hope.
Yeah, she's fine. She's fine.
Okay, cool.
for now.
For now.
If she takes more damage, that piles on top of the total save that she has to make. So
Yeah, it piles on. So your death saves do get harder and harder as time goes on.
Yeah, so even on a successful death save, I am still wounded. And again, that brings a variety of effects ranging from just a scratch to I'm Khal Drogo dying on the side of a mountain from a scratch on my chest. She's able to survive it just fine. It's going to be a serious wound. So she's going to actually take some penalties to that on her attack roll because of it.
Wonderful.
nice.
Wonderful for us, not so much for her.
Yeah. On a natural 20, there's got to be some benefits to that. So certainly she's suffering she's bleeding. She's bleeding.
So that was my major action, and I hate to say it for Dwarf Huck, but I have a compound bow. That's what Lloyd uses, and the trade-off of the compound bow is that it doesn't deal a lot of damage, right? It's 1d4 damage because it's small, but it's small and it's quick and easy to fire. So you can actually fire it along with using a major action to shoot it. You can also use your minor action to fire the compound bow.
No way.
And that's what I'm gonna do.
No way.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot her again.
Don't. You know, Huck has a family. She has kids. She's 1 day away from retiring, Brian. Don't do this to her.
Alex, I got a 17 on my attack roll. Does that beat her defense? Including her +3 bonus for the cover?
No, it does not. It does not beat it.
It does not beat her defense.
She's a beefy lady, bro.
Damn.
And she's in cover. So that adds a lot to it.
What kind of defense is this? What is she wearing? Is she wearing, like, good armor?
She's wearing patchwork armor.
Man, I couldn't afford that shit.
Well, I also didn't buy her a backpack or any other shit. So.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Yep.
Here we were buying adventuring gear for our people because we didn't know what to expect.
I spent almost no money on adventuring gear, actually.
Perfect.
So.
There you go. Yeah. Huck came with nothing on her back. She's just like, I have my patchwork armor. I have whatever weapon I gave her and a plucky attitude and said, I'm going to make it.
All right. Well, that is a little rough for my boy Lloyd, but hey, he got one shot in. That's good enough.
Yeah, she's still hurting. You definitely see there's a little bit of blood pooling
Yeah.
at the base of the tree that she's standing behind. Next up in the order is going to be my man Dane.
Yeah, Dane, seeing his buddy shoot an arrow into the small copse of trees, will run that way. This is even with additional movement. I don't have quite enough to get to Huck number 2, but I can definitely get to where Dwarf Huck is hiding. So I'm going to jump over there, or run over there, I guess.
It's a little of both. You're a deer folk.
Do I need to do any sort of check to like see where she's at, or can I easily like get on the other side of the trees, or?
You're able to move pretty nimbly despite having a little bit of a difficult terrain. You're like on the west side, they're on the east. You're able to move a little northward going up at a curve.
Okay.
And you can spot her on the other side of the tree, negating cover.
All right. Well, then I will swoop around those trees and swing my longsword at her. So I have expertise in swords, and I also am a precise striker, which means I get to use my dexterity instead of strength to attack. So this is a +6 to attack. So let's see how we do.
Ouch.
Ooh, shit. Yeah, so that's 17 + 6 for 23.
Wow, weird. You didn't beat it? No, yeah, you totally beat it. Holy shit.
I was like, wow, if she has that high AC, or defense, sorry.
Look, a plucky attitude does a lot for somebody. All right, no. Yeah, you totally break through that. So you run into the trees and she just like, what the fuck? And comes over the longsword. What do you got?
The longsword is a D8 plus my strength score, which is 1. So that I rolled a 7 + 1, so it's 8 damage to her.
8 damage.
So she either needs to spend 8 EP or take a boatload of damage.
Remind me, if anyone can quickly remember, is there a limit on the amount of EP I can spend per turn?
There is an EP expenditure limit, but it's equal to 20 plus your dexterity.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I'm pretty sure that she can spend 8.
So, yeah, you run up, right? And due to your ability to move through this terrain and so quickly, Huck, while still kind of dealing with this elbow injury, you come up upon her and she's trying to stop the flow of blood. And as you burst through the trees, she looks up suddenly, and you see as your longsword comes down, literally slashing to the side, she's able to at least duck and kind of jump away and moves out into the clearing. And your sword barely misses her and hits against the tree she was leaning against. But you have gotten her out of cover.
Ooh, a spry one, eh?
Pretty spry for a dwarf with an arrow in her arm.
Yeah.
My fucking arm! Ah!
I kind of picture it as doing like a Samus roll to get out of the way, just tucking and rolling and moving away.
She leaves a little pellet. It doesn't explode. Everyone's confused.
Ew, she took a shit.
She pooted.
Oh, God, no.
God, this is the high-class humor that Ian surely wanted for playtesters of this game.
I'm sure. All right, so next up is Huck the human. Huck the human moves his way forward and is able to make line of sight with Dane, and he's gonna do some magic.
Oh shit, magic.
He does magic.
He does magic.
I thought I was the only one in town.
Well, this town is big enough for the two of you.
Is it? It sounds like I'm gonna murder this guy.
It's gonna be big enough for the two of you after all these tryouts are over.
So what sort of spell is Hawk number 2 casting at me?
He's gonna cast Cold Beam, which is a 0-cost spell. It has a verbal and somatic component, and it is a spell attack. So as he does that, Brian, you want to remind me again of the process to cast a spell in this game? Am I just rolling spell attack and go for it, or?
Basically, yeah. You have to make sure that you're within your mana expenditure limit, that you have enough mana left to spend. You use the action to cast the spell. If you have to make any sort of concentration, or if there's any chance that the spell would not work, then you have to deal with that. Being as it is, I'm pretty sure all of that is fine and met. So he can just go ahead and spend his major action to do the spell, and he makes the spell attack.
When I roll a spell attack, I know that's using a d20. Does it have a related attribute?
It's plus your intelligence.
There we go. Got it. Thank you.
And it's not one of the usual categories where you can just oh, my background gives me expertise. There are ways to get expertise on spell attacks, but without those, you're not adding anything extra.
No. So in this instance, he's adding his intelligence. So he's going to roll a d20. Yep. Hold your horses, because that's a natural 1.
Ooh.
Hey, we heard about critically true strikes. Now we get to hear about critical failures.
But do we want to? Can't we just skip it? Say it was a 20. Everyone live happily. All right. So if a natural 1 is rolled on an attack, it is a critical miss. Critical miss misses, surprisingly, regardless of the target's defense. And just for funsies, I can choose a fumble for a critical miss. And in the rule book, there is actually a table for fumbles. I can roll a 1d20 and add my luck, and that's going to tell me what happens in the fumble table. Y'all, Human Huck has a luck of -4, so it's going to be pretty bad.
Boy.
He's not lucky. How do you think he ended up here? Okay.
Oh, Human Huck.
So 18 -4 puts him at 14. That means his weapon slips from his hand, and it takes half of my movement and a minor action to retrieve it. So in doing so, you see he says the words, right? He suddenly has a shiver come over him. And as he puts out his hands to start casting the spell, instead, you just kind of see that a little bit of frost kind of develops over him entirely. And as he shakes it off, he drops a longsword at the ground. And he is now just kind of standing out in the open as he tries to pick it up. And I think that is all he can do for his turn.
Look at this asshole. This is why humans shouldn't do magic.
A little bit too cold out for you here, friend.
I come from warmer climates. It's not my thing. I don't even know why I learned this stupid ice spell. I hate ice. Why did I move here? Anyway, so back to the top of the initiative order is Dwarf Huck. She's now out in the open. She's bleeding out of her elbow. She looks back over at Dane, and you see she grabs her totally awesome bastard sword, which she can only wield one-handed right now because her elbow is poop. And she's gonna run up over at you, and she's gonna take a swing. And she's an expert in it, so she's gonna add 1.5 of her strength.
But she is taking a -6 because of that arrow in her elbow.
She's hurting.
She got that wound.
She rolled a 16, but due to the pluses and minuses, comes out to a 14.
I parry it deftly with my shield.
Nice. She brings out the bastard sword almost clumsily as she runs over and tries to, in her rage, bring it down on you. But yeah, you are, again, very nimble in this terrain and just very deftly move it aside with your buckler. Going into the next turn on the order, it's my man Lloyd.
Lloyd is going to, using his movement and the benefits of the jump spell, just sort of, continue moving branch to branch, hopping and skipping to make sure that he's within about 30-ish feet of the combat happening on the ground below. And he's going to fire off another couple of shots. We'll aim the first one at least at Dwarf Huck again. Actually, she's already injured. We'll go ahead and shoot at Human Huck. He's a spellcaster. He's not injured yet.
Yeah, I'm locked in combat with Huck. Number 1, Dwarf Huck. You can fire away at Huck 2.
Yeah, no, we'll try and get over near that guy, a little closer to him, and just fire a couple shots down at him.
Yeah, Human Huck isn't physically hurt, but he is emotionally hurt due to the embarrassment of dropping his weapon at these tryouts. So,
oh yeah,
go for it.
So here we go. We're going to take a couple of shots. First shot comes out. That's a total of 11. I'm guessing that's not much of a hit.
It's exactly his...
Is that his defense?
11, yes.
Oh my god, so that is a true strike. All right.
Yikes. Poor kid.
He's got the clothes on his back and not much else.
All right. He's going to have to spend 1 EP to get out of the way of that shot.
Oh no! So yeah, you shoot it. He's got his long sword. He's trying to get the last bit of the frost out. And as he shakes to do it, he kind of stumbles on one leg. And in that stumble, you shoot the arrow, and it goes into his robes and out through the back between his legs, right? Just kind of stupid luck avoided that hit.
All right, well, he's got another one coming his way, so we'll see if his luck can hold.
To which he looks up and he goes, what?
That is another 11, so again, just barely a hit. And this time, looking at 4 damage from the compound bow. So he'll have to spend a little more EP if he has it to get out of the way of this one.
Let's see here. Oh, man, he doesn't have a lot of EP. But, whatever. He's going to use up 3 EP. He's going to take 1 wound.
Well, 4. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's going to take 1 wound. We're not done yet with this fight. I need to keep a little bit of EP in the tank.
All right. It's an interesting choice that you can make to do that. You can sort of risk okay, I'll not fully get out of the way of this one and maybe take a wound and risk the death save and the injury to have some EP in reserve for something worse down the line.
Exactly. So in this instance, I'm going to make another death save for my wound, and I'm going to roll again a Constitution save.
Just have to beat a 1, so should be okay.
Sweet, you got a 5, so he's good. But I will say it is a mild wound because what happens is you notch another arrow, let loose, and as it goes, right, that first arrow shoots through his robe between his legs, and as it barely misses due to his stumble, he jumps a little bit from the shock of it, and your second arrow goes also between his legs. And it nicks close to the top middle, and you hear him go, holy shit, my sack!
Just pierced his balls, Baron.
It nicked it. It nicked the balls. He got 1 damage.
And that's a minor wound?
That's a minor wound.
Alex, I don't know if you've ever nicked your balls. But,
it's like when you're trying to use a buzzer down there, it goes, that's 1 damage.
All right, if it's like that, that's a minor wound.
That's 1 damage. Oh, man. All right. Next up, Dane. Go for it.
I'm just going to continue swinging my sword at this dwarf here. She ran up to me to try and fight. We're locked in combat, so I don't have to move at all. I can just take my major action to try and strike her.
Yes, you can.
With a +6. And again, 17 plus 6, so 23.
Yeah.
Let's see how much damage this does. Oh, only 2 damage total.
You bring up your sword into a sort of charging stance and you thrust it forward, but she is able to hop over to the side and your hit misses. So she expends 2 EP to get out of the way. We are going through her EP so much faster than I thought we would. Holy crapo.
I still got a full tank.
Thanks for rubbing it in, Mike. Let me see here. Okay, so now next is Human Huck, who is glad he can still have kids. He's gonna... For now.
I'm coming for him.
Oh, no.
I got 16 arrows left. One of them's gonna count.
Okay. He's going to run forward as he's speaking this spell in a very lovely flourish of Elvish. And he comes up and touches Dwarf Huck's back as you suddenly see this falling snow around her. Some of it almost kind of floats before it touches her now, as she is imbued with telekinetic energy. And that is the end of Human Huck's turn.
He's not going to use his major action for anything. That's a minor action spell.
Oh, is that a minor action? Oh, it is a minor action. Look at that. Okay, well, then he's going to cast that cold spell again.
It worked out really well for it.
Yep.
It did. Well, I don't know what you're implying. Yeah, so, okay, he touches her, and then he's going to be like, I got your back, girl. And he's going to say the words, feel the shiver, and he's going to shoot towards Dane.
Yeah. I'm a deer. I love the cold.
For 19.
19, that's a hit for sure.
All creatures in a straight line from moi within range are targeted by my spell attack. Each creature that I make a true strike against with the spell takes 1d4 cold damage. Where's my d4? Here it is. You take 1 damage. Take that, Dane.
I will spend an EP to duck out of the way.
I mean, you don't have to.
The tips of my antlers catch a little bit of frost, maybe, as I duck out of the range of the spell.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Going back to the top of the order is Dwarfhuck. Oh my god, Dwarfhuck. She's going to make another attack with her bastard sword over at Dane.
She's got an extra +1 on it now.
Yep.
Here we go.
And does some significant extra damage if she hits, so.
If. That's a natural 20.
Oh
shit.
Oh, Cheetos.
Oh, geez, Dane.
All right, so as we saw before, that means I get to add 1d4 damage on top of the damage it's going to do. So in this instance,
And that cannot be avoided.
and it cannot be avoided. Stop avoiding it. That is 8 damage plus half my strength. So that's 10 damage, and then the d4 that cannot be avoided.
Before you do the d4, that telekinetic attack spell
Oh, that adds some stuff.
adds 2d6 damage.
Oof.
Look at that. I did something right. I'm sorry I did something right.
That's 10 damage already.
So that's 10, yeah, which adds 2d6 force damage. So here we go. Here comes that. That is 7 damage, so 17 now.
Yikes. Okay.
And then the unavoidable was 2.
2 bone. Okay. So,
How much EP did Dane have there?
before the attack, I had 21 left.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm gonna, let's see.
You don't have to spend it all in one place. You can let me kill you.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna spend, it's that balance, right? Like, how much do I want to spend? How much can I potentially roll well on a constitution saving throw? So I'm gonna spend 12 EP
Okay,
and take,
5 wound.
yeah. So,
You're going to do your death save, which is DC 5 now. Plus, well, the unavoidable damage is 2, so it's DC 7 with your constitution saving throw.
down to 9 EP. All right. Cool. And a death saving throw of 7. And I've got a +2 on this con save. So,
Here we go.
dice, don't fail me now.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
Lord.
Oh my god!
Oh, Lord.
I rolled a 4.
Dane!
Wow! Well,
Dane!
let's look at what happens when that happens.
I think I die.
Yeah.
Is what happens.
I just want to read it from the fucking thing.
Oof. Well, I'm going to start rolling up a new character real quick.
Holy shit, I didn't think that would happen. Another interesting thing about Apotheosis is, like we mentioned before, any wound is potentially fatal.
Yeah.
Should have just spent more EP.
Should have just spent more EP.
Yeah, just avoided the whole thing.
So you see Dwarfhuck, imbued with telekinetic power, brings up her longsword and does a wide slash. Dane, while trying to move back, is still slashed across the abdomen. The gash is deep enough that you see his intestine spill out, and he falls to the floor, beginning to gasp slowly as the steam from his body rises up into the heavens, taking his soul with it.
Rip.
Wow. I didn't think we'd see that happen.
Holy shit! Lloyd is freaking out in the tree.
Dwarfhuck looks up at Lloyd and says, "You're next, fucking dick!" To which now it is Lloyd's turn.
All right, Lloyd is worried about the fact that this is happening and seeing the very real case that, like, okay, shit, we're killing each other. That's cool. He's gonna try something here. So first I'm going to make a minor action attack with my bow
All right, in
in the hopes of maybe stealing a little bit more EP away from her, because it seems like we've chunked out a fair fair amount of her EP so far. So if we can try and take out the rest of that, that would be excellent. That is gonna be a 15 on the roll, though, so I don't think that's enough.
That 15 is not enough to get past her defense.
All right. Damn it. Okay, Lloyd is gonna risk staying in the tree for one more round and just fire off another shot at her. If I can roll above a 10 on my dice after that nat 20, that would be amazing. Okay, that's a total of 22, so that is going to be a hit. And so we'll do another 3 points of damage towards Dwarf Huck that she will have to either accept or spend EP to get out of the way.
I kind of want her to hold on to this EP. So I'm going to use one EP, and I'm going to do a death saving throw. Is there a penalty that I receive since this is another death saving throw that I do?
You're adding the total wound, though.
The total of all the wounds you've taken. She took 3 damage before, prompting that first one, so now she's got a total of 5 wounds, so she has to make a DC 5 death saving throw this time.
All right, DC 5 death saving throw. Here we go. Huck. Huck, 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 huck. She got a 4, so it doesn't work. Huck, you see she goes, "You're next, asshole!" And as soon as she says that, just flip, arrow through the socket of the eye. And she falls down. Human Huck stands there looking at Dwarf Huck, and he's like, "Holy shit!" He's gonna drop his weapon. He's gonna say, I'm out. I'm fucking out. I'm fucking out of this. I don't want to be in this." Josen rings a bell. He blows a whistle. They had whistles in fantasy settings, right?
Probably.
Sure.
He blows a whistle. He walks out, and he says, "Well, that was interesting. Yeah, y'all fucking killed one of them, and they killed one of you. That's crazy. Crazy fun.
You're the ones who told us to do it. What the fuck? What are you talking about?
But morally, it's on you, so, you deal with that as you try to sleep tonight."
She killed him first. I think I'm fine. That was self-defense.
Hey, whatever you gotta tell yourself, buddy, all right? It's between you and whatever God, multiple or plural, that you pray to. So,
I'm gonna sleep soundly tonight, let me tell you.
the day continues. You see there are more fatalities throughout the day.
Nice.
You come back the next day, and there are significantly fewer folks inside of the crowd, but they're still there. God, they want to get paid for the winter, and they want to be part of this thing. Josen steps back up at the top of the ranger station, and he says, "All right, for this next one, we recently had a little bit of a situation here. So I'm seeing here all you are good at combat. No death in this scenario. Darn. But this time, we're going to test you to see how good you are at interrogating, or at least getting information out of people who are involved in incidents here in Ravensholde. So I'm going to pick you," and he points over at Lloyd, "and I'm going to pick you," and he points at another human man who is named
Dean.
Oh, Ian! Welcome back, Ian. God, every year you try to sign up for this thing, and every year you just get so close.
Told you I'd make it this time.
Okay, this time, the interrogation scene, don't kill anybody in the interrogation scene.
Hey, look, it was an accident last time. We don't talk about the incident, okay? I was acquitted, so it's fine.
It's true. Last time he went into the interrogation scene, and then he killed someone, and then we tried interrogating him again after. But man, he's good, and we just had to let him go. So all right, you two.
I'm starting to think this whole process might not be the most scrupulous around.
It's a little flawed, not gonna lie.
What are you talking about? This is great. It's great.
Didn't you just say there's no deaths in the interrogation one, and now you're telling me there was?
Look, rules are made to be broken, all right?
I mean, I was gonna say no deaths, try me, but oh my lord.
Look, hey, you think when Fantasy Steve Jobs made Fantasy Apple, he didn't break some rules, all right? Well, we're innovators. We're pushing the envelope on law enforcement in all the wrong directions. All right.
I'm a rat folk. I don't know what any of that means, but okay.
Follow me! And he skips into the sheriff's station. And you all, oddly enough, skip right after him.
It was a very convincing sketch.
He's so convincing in his skips.
You know what? I do like his style. I don't like a lot of things that are happening here, but I gotta give him that.
God, that guy can skip. So you come over to 2 interrogation rooms. On the left is an older man. On the right is a younger girl. You see, Josen explains that on one side is the father, on the other side is the daughter. They brought in the daughter last night because she actually tried to stab the dad. The dad actually didn't want to press charges He just kind of wants to smooth it over, wants to get back to peaceful, okay with his daughter. But there is a family heirloom missing from his recently deceased wife that he would like his daughter to admit where it is. Your job, you get the daughter to say, where's the family heirloom? And, maybe patch things up, get them back to not stabby territory in their relationship. So how would you like to approach this? They are in 2 separate rooms.
Well, I gotta admit, Dean, I'm not sure how much experience you have in that. It sounds like some, maybe not the best experience, maybe not the right experience.
Look, I'm very persuasive, okay?
But some experience, and that's more than I have. I gotta admit, I'm not very good with people. I'm not very good at the whole convincing them that I'm on their side sort of thing. It may have something to do with being a rat. Just a big ass rat that walks around on 2 legs. Most people, they get a little uncomfortable about that.
People do tend to distrust the rat.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame.
No lie. It's not fair, but it does happen, and I'm sorry for that.
I think it's very inappropriate, and that's probably
agree.
why I take out a lot of my issues saying things like humans are dirty and shouldn't cast magic. But the point is, I'm going to sort of let you take the lead on asking the questions, and maybe I'll take the lead on trying to suss out if they're telling the truth or whatnot. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on if there's a more fitting ability for that than awareness, which there might be. Shit, insight is a thing in this game.
Insight is totally a thing.
We'll see how well I do. I don't know then. Maybe I'll have to rely on any physical clues that they have on their persons.
Ian, who would you like to interview first?
I feel good about talking to the dad and seeing, what they have to say. And then we can maybe try and interrogate the daughter and see what's what after that. How's that sound?
Yeah, no. I mean, hey, I'm on board with that. That sounds good. The father is obviously the best place to start. We got to talk to the guy who didn't do anything and then talk to the girl who did.
Yeah. See, the victim here, clearly he nearly got stabbed and had something stolen from him. So
you walk into the interrogation room. You see a human man sitting there. He is nursing a wound on the side of his neck that has been bandaged fairly well. And so he says, "Oh, hi there. Oh, hey, my name's Huck." No, I'm kidding. His name's not Huck. My name's Puck. No, his name's Kevin.
Oh, now I understand why she stabbed him. I'd like to apologize to all of our listeners named Kevin.
And Huck. Your name's Huck. I mean, we'll apologize to you, but your parents should apologize to you too. So you see Kevin kind of waves at you all and he says, "Hey there, deputies? I'm assuming deputies, right?"
Yeah, let's call us deputies. That's
absolutely, of course we are.
Yeah, that's how a deputy would answer. So what do you got for me? How can I help you?
Well, yeah, we wanted to know what happened between you and your daughter here. Seems like there was an incident last night, and
yeah,
I heard you almost got stabbed, but it looks like you did get a little bit stabbed.
I got a little nick. I got a little nick. She kind of came at me.
She got you pretty good there, it looks like. So.
Congratulations on passing your death saving throw. I had a good buddy who didn't the other day.
I have a pretty good constitution, which really matters out here in case you haven't noticed.
Apparently it does. A lot.
Look, I've been, it's been rough. All right. My wife recently passed away. She's kind of taking it a little hard. I don't blame her, right? She's acting out. And we live out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and she's just tense. I get that, right? And look, I don't want to press charges. I just look, there's this key to a really really important cabinet to us that my wife kept a lot of her heirlooms in.
What's in the cabinet?
Well, we've got like family albums. We've got like documents that
family Bible.
I treasure. Right, the family fantasy Bible is in there.
Okay, yeah. So
right,
like sentimental value, not so much monetary.
I love Fantasy Jesus so much, and I just want to have the book, the good book, the best book. Honestly, I'd break the cabinet open to get to it, but her father made the cabinet. I don't want to break it. I just want the key. I just want to get the key back and really, maybe do fantasy counseling. I don't know if there's counseling in fantasy setting. Maybe do some counseling and just kind of move past this. One mistake should not ruin her life. I'm sure she's dealing with stuff. She's dealing with stuff.
I appreciate that position because I too stab people when I get tense. So
yeah, I heard you killed somebody like earlier today, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that was with an arrow, not stabbing them. Although I was gonna Originally, I was gonna do a stab maneuver, but then I just shot her in the eye instead.
Oh, sick.
And that worked out for me.
What is shooting an arrow if not stabbing someone at range?
From a distance, exactly.
Remote stabbing.
Oh, God.
Social distance stabbing.
Social
if you will.
distance stabbing.
It's the appropriate thing to do in this modern day and age.
It's the CDC approved way to stab somebody.
Yes.
Anyway, why do you think your daughter took the key?
Look, I just think maybe she wants to feel closer with her mother, right? I think, but maybe I'll say this. I have noticed she has been running around with a new friend of hers, and I don't know who the friend is, but I have seen footprints outside of her window late at night. She's not climbing into her own window, I don't think. Right, so she's got to be meeting with somebody.
Any clue as to who this might be or what they might be up to?
You know what? Look, all I know is when I found these footprints, after that, she started becoming much more cold and distant towards me. And really, I just want my daughter back, man. I just want to have my family, what's left of my family back.
And that led up to the stabbing incident. What provoked the stab?
Yeah, tell us about what happened leading up to this event last night.
That's the crazy thing. We're having dinner one day, and I could tell she was kind of on edge that day. And she's preparing, she was cooking something at the stove, and I had my back turned. And I'm about to bite into an apple. Have you had the apples out here? They're fantastic. I'm biting into this apple. And suddenly I feel, I hear her coming at me, and I turn just in time for her to just get the side of my neck. I freaked out. I made a ruckus. I yelled really high pitched, but it was manly. It was a manly, high pitched yell.
Mm-hmm.
And then thankfully I had Sheriff Nehall. She lives right next door. She made her way on over and helped me calm the situation. But then she brought us on over here. My daughter was in a cell last night, unfortunately, and she wanted to kind of talk it out. Said something about tryouts. I did see a bunch of body bags on my way in, so I'm assuming tryout season is in progress.
It's been busy.
It's well underway. That's why I shot the lady in the eye.
Oh man, I love tryout season. It's fucking wild.
It's pretty brutal.
Never know how it's going to turn out for people. So
yeah, look, hey, the murders are high, but the deals, it's like a fantasy Memorial Day kind of thing over here, and we just Fantasy Ross down the street has so many deals at Ravensholde. Sorry, not to get sidetracked. I just get excited.
All the best bargains during tryout season.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna have a lot of stock when there's not gonna be too many people to wear.
When all the people fucking die.
I mean, less people around, yeah. Plus, starting to wonder if tryout season is in some sort of racket between the town constabulary and
Fantasy Ross.
Yeah, maybe trying to cull the herd a little bit,
Anyway, that being as it may, I don't know. I mean, do we have any other questions? It sounds like we need to...
Yeah, it seems pretty cut and dry here. I think we should go and interrogate this daughter and see what we can figure out and see if we can get the key back from her. And hopefully reunite this family,
Absolutely.
I love that plan. I think that plan's so good.
We'll do what we can. All right.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Guy. Lloyd Guy Lloyd. Thanks.
I didn't tell you my name. How did you know my name, you son of a bitch?
I know everyone's name.
I'll stab you next.
Ravensholde's like Cheers, where everyone knows your name. Yeah, you all walk out. Anything you want to discuss before you go into the interrogation room with the daughter?
Well, it seems like the daughter's being pretty erratic here. Maybe we should focus on figuring out who's been influencing her then, or...
That sounds reasonable. I think the only thing that guy was lying about was the apple situation, because the apples here are dog shit. But... everything else he said sounded like it was on the level.
Mm-hmm. And at least, maybe he thinks they're good, which is weird, but, everyone has their own taste.
I feel like that cannot be the case. The apples here are so utterly abysmal and terrible. I cannot imagine anyone, tasting them and thinking these are the best apples. If he had said they were like, okay, maybe, but he started raving about the apples, which doesn't make any sense to me. But as far as the key and the stabbing thing goes, I think I think we could trust what we heard in there.
I guess we can go talk to the daughter then and see what we can suss out from her.
Yeah. No, that seems reasonable. Let's go.
You walk into the interrogation room with the daughter, and she's sitting there. She's got her arms crossed. She's sitting to the side. She kind of eyes both of you as you come in, and she just goes, "Hey, what do you got? What, Tweedledee and Tweedledumbass over here? What's this?"
Which one of us is D? And which one of us is dumbass? Just out of curiosity.
Well, the dumbass who's asking is the dumbass, so.
Okay, well, this dumbass hears you like stabbing people, and I'm really into it too. So how about we all take a step back?
He is very much into stabbing people, actually. So why don't we, instead of stabbing each other, let's just talk and see if we can figure out what's going on. We heard there was an incident last night where, you were acting out. You've been under a lot of stress recently. I understand, things can be tough after big life changes and traumatic events. It's difficult to cope with these things sometimes.
Yeah. Big life changes, traumatic events, totally. Look, the knife was an accident. It's a total accident.
You accidentally stabbed him?
Yep, total accident. I was cooking some food and I was chopping up asparagus and I went down too hard on the chopping block and it flew out of my hand. And it got the old man on the side of the neck. I'm sorry. It's fine. It's fine now. You can send me home. It's fine.
It seems like that's, I don't know, fairly unlikely that a knife would just fly out of your hand while chopping vegetables.
When was the last time you chopped an asparagus, huh? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it gets tricky. All right.
I'll roll to intimidate her. What the fuck?
Yeah,
we'll give it a shot.
There you go.
We'll give it a shot.
That's mean.
I rolled a 1 on the die, and I have a -1 modifier, so that's a 0.
0. Congratulations.
So Lloyd tries to do the bad cop thing of slamming his fists down on the table and yelling it's bullshit, but he's a rat folk and his strength is 0. So it doesn't really make a lot of impact. It's just sort of like a on the table.
You're small too, right? So the table's probably...
He's reaching up. His face is at table level. So he's just on the table right in front of his own nose and points and he's like, that's bullshit. I call bullshit.
I'm going to try and persuade her. Look, my friend's a little excited. We understand there's some things going on here. You can trust us. It's okay. We're here to figure out what's going on and resolve the situation amicably. So yeah, just why don't you tell us what really happened? And I'm going to roll persuasion.
Okay, go for it.
It's a 9.
Okay, I believe Apotheosis is nice enough to actually give us competing checks for a lot of these. You are rolling persuasion, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean it's a charisma save. Okay, so she has to roll a charisma save. Well, she got a 19. So she looks you up and down a little bit, kind of squints her eyes. She says, no, something's been up since my mom died. Okay? People seem funny lately, and it's just got me on edge. I'd rather just put the whole thing behind me, and I'd like to get home.
Look, I understand it can be difficult when you lose a parent. I've lost both of my parents as well. It's really tough. Things often seem strange after that, and feel like you can't trust people. Sometimes, maybe you're running around with certain friends that are in your ear as well, telling you that maybe, things are this way when they're really not. Your dad tells us that you've been maybe hanging out with a bad crowd too, that influencing you in some ways.
Well, if it wasn't for a quote unquote bad crowd, maybe I wouldn't have realized that my dad's been eating sugar right out of the sugar holder, whatever that thing is. Pure sugar, just eating it. Who does that? What is that?
I mean, sometimes people got a sweet tooth.
It's a little strange, but there's no cause to stab a man over that.
Sure. Like I said, I just want to put it behind me.
So who is it that informed you about the sugar situation?
Well, I guess it doesn't matter because she has left town anyway. Violet was one of the settlers that came into town and, well, she pointed out a few things about some of the settlers that I'm now noticing about some of the residents of the outpost. But look, again, I'm going through a hard time. I'm all mixed up and I just want to put it behind me, get home. Maybe it's time for me to get Ravensholde in my rearview mirror and move on to Anthier once the thaw arrives.
I understand trying to maybe move away from home. It seems like you do have some attachments here, though, with your family and some strange conceptions about what might be going on in the town.
Not to mention the cabinet full of heirlooms. I mean...
That's what I was going to say as well. It seems like, Dad said you've got a key it's gone missing recently. He thinks you had run off with it, some of the family personal belongings. Can you tell us what happened to that?
She gets very nervous when you mention the key. And she says, I don't know anything about a key. There's no key here. And she's going to roll a deception check.
Is that a contested insight check for us then? Or what is that exactly?
Yes.
Okay, well, here we go, Lloyd. -1, baby.
Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. Deception for this lady. That is charisma. She got a 6.
Oh my god, I beat her. I got a 10.
Nice.
I got a 5.
Well,
So I'm like, maybe she doesn't really know anything about this key.
Ian, you hear her and you think, wow, maybe this is just kind of a sensitive subject. But Lloyd, you can easily tell she's just super nervous as soon as you mention this key. You know, she obviously knows either where it is or what's up with it.
Lloyd does that's bullshit again.
Yeah, my friend here seems to think you might not be telling us the truth here. And like I said, you can trust us. We're here to solve the situation amicably. We just want to know what's going on.
I'm gonna have my very own vegetable cutting accident here in this room if you don't start talking.
Whoever has a higher persuasion skill can roll persuasion in this moment.
I'm pretty sure that's gonna be you.
That's definitely going to be me.
The rat man doesn't have good persuasion?
I'm going to use a different dice that has not been failing me. So let's see. It's going to be a 10 against her charisma saving throw, I think it was.
Oh, yeah, look at that. She got a 6. Okay.
Nice.
You tell her she can trust you and right, you're here to help. She starts to soften up a little bit and she goes, okay, I have the key. I know where the key is. But look, you gotta believe me. You can't give that key to my father.
What? Why not? What's he gonna do? What would he do with the key? He's gonna unlock a cabinet. That's all keys do.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Tweedle dumbass. I can trust you guys, right?
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, Lloyd, you just give me so much confidence, and I feel so safe with you around. She says, look, that's not my father in the next room.
What? What are you talking about?
What? What?
Check the back of his head at the base of his neck. That's not my father. I don't know who that is. I don't know, maybe it was my father. But look, I looked inside that cabinet. There's some sort of egg.
Like a fantasy Fabergé egg that's like diamond encrusted and worth a lot of money.
It's like an egg, like pulsating and gross, and something's inside of it, and I think he knows that I know what's in it. I mean, well, he probably knows that I know he's not him because I did try to get whatever's in him out of him. Look, you gotta believe me. You gotta believe me. I'm not being crazy, but you came here with the settlers. They're here now. They're here. Check the back of his head.
I don't know. This all sounds a little out there to me.
It sounds a little bizarre, but I think I've heard some rumors of things like this, and
No, it's just crazy talk.
nah, we can go check the back of his head. If we check the back of his head, what are we looking for? There's gonna be something weird on the back of his head, like a tattoo, or like a bump.
Look, for lack of a better word to describe it, he's got like a little butthole on the back of his head, and that's where the thing went in.
That's kind of disgusting. I don't know.
That's what it looks like. I'm sorry. I'm not a freaking novelist over here, all right? I'm just using visual metaphor that I'm aware of, and it looks kind of like a little butthole in the back of his head. That's where the thing went in.
All right. We'll go take a look for his head butthole.
This whole thing seems a bit far-fetched. Come on, I don't think there's going to be any sort of...
Hold on. First questions first. How about you show us the back of your head so that we know that you don't have a head butthole?
Wait, what?
Yeah, good point.
What?
I mean, for all we know, she could be one of these pod people or whatever.
Yeah, maybe you have a head butthole.
I don't have a head butthole.
Just show us the back of your head. Get the hair out of the way.
Yeah, prove it.
I don't have to show you shit. I know what I am. I'm a real person.
Dean, hold her down.
No, okay. Look. All right. And she gets up. She like moves her hair. She's like, look through it. Look, I'm sorry if you get lice later because you're touching my head, but go for it. Okay, I tried to warn you. Check it. Go ahead.
She didn't say that she had lice. Now I don't want to touch her head.
Go ahead, Ratman. You probably got more lice than I do.
I'll check the head, but I need you to squat down. I can't reach.
All right.
Take a seat. All right.
Yeah, she sits in the chair and she leans forward. You know, you kind of start combing through her head, and man, she's got some bad lice. It's real frontier world out here.
Oh my, this is disgusting. I'm gonna have to take a bath after this. This is horrible.
Yikes.
Ugh.
That's why I said I didn't want to touch her now.
No mark, no sort of hole-ish looking object or thing on the back of her head.
All right, let's go check with Kevin.
So you all exit the room and you come back around.
In between the two rooms, I'm going to pull Lloyd aside and just be like, look, Lloyd, I think she's talking crazy. I don't know what, like, head buttholes and, like, her dad's not her dad. I mean, this seems like some serious mental illnesses that she's struggling with right now. I think she really needs some help, to be completely honest.
No, I think it could very much be a psychotic breakdown of some kind. I think I agree with that. But she's giving us a very specific thing to look for that I think it would be easy to check and see if the dad has on his head.
If we think that she's just having some sort of, like, mental breakdown, like, we don't even have to go look. We could just, like, stay out here for a minute.
Dean, you're discussing this a little, like, you're getting a little aggressive about not wanting to check for the head butthole. I don't know how I feel about this.
Look, like, it seems like it's not going to be a waste of time. We can just go back in and say that we did the thing and be like, oh no, your dad's your dad, and it's fine.
Dean, I hate to ask this, buddy. I'm gonna need to see the back of your head for a moment real quick. I don't trust this.
Oh, what do you mean? Come on.
Dean,
like,
how do I know you don't have a head butthole?
how do I know you don't have a head butthole?
Show me your buttholes, Dean.
I mean, I start unbuckling my pants. I'm like, if you really want to see the butthole, I guess then.
While his pants are down, that's when I can get him. Catch him with his trousers down, literally.
Is that what you're really trying to do?
Yeah, no, fuck it. If he starts...
No, I'm not going to take my pants off.
Okay,
really.
All right, Dean, you tease. You're teasing me, Dean.
I mean, let's, buy me a drink first, okay?
Wait, is he Dean or Een?
Oh, yeah, I thought it was Dean.
It's Een, isn't it?
No, it's Dean. It's whatever.
Oh, it's Dean. I heard Een.
Yeah. No, everybody's been screwing it up. It's okay.
Okay, Dean.
Yeah, I made a dang Dean.
Nice. Fantastic.
Anyway, Lloyd, look, you've known me for how long? Like 10 minutes now? Like,
Tops.
you can trust me. It's fine.
I don't think I do. I did. But now you're being very adamant about not checking for something very specific and very easy to find.
I mean, it just seems like crazy talk to me. So I don't know why we have to go.
It does seem crazy, but the easiest way to prove that it's crazy is to prove that it's false.
What size are you, Lloyd? What's your size classification?
I'm a small character.
You're a small character. That's rough. That's rough for you. Well,
He's big where it counts, in his heart.
there you go. Thanks for making that not gross. Real quick, before this conversation continues, you're suddenly going to feel someone coming up on you and grappling you, Lloyd.
Oh my god!
So, to initiate a grapple, you have to have at least one hand free, which your assailant does. They make a grappling strength check against the target's strength or dexterity saving throw.
Okay, so I need to make a dexterity saving throw.
Yep.
Alright. I got a 15. Lloyd is very dexterous.
Okay, well, this guy got a 12. You suddenly feel some coated arms come out from behind you and try to grab you, but you very quickly scamper out of it. You look behind you and you see it's Chosen, Deputy Chosen. And he looks over at Dean and he says, "We gotta get him. Get him now. Get him now."
Yeah, I will also attempt to grapple Lloyd.
What? You sons of bitches!
The father also comes out of the room and starts to approach you also, and you are now cornered, Lloyd.
It was a setup!
This dice has also failed me. I rolled a 4.
I rolled a 19.
Wow! Okay, yeah, so...
Yeah, I go to grab you and you just duck out of the way.
Lloyd is just jumping out of the way, scrambling around. He's moving on all fours.
As you're doing that, the daughter who... Did I give her a name?
I don't think we got her name.
Oh, crap. I feel bad. Okay, well, daughter...
She started off our interaction by calling me Tweedle Dumbass, and I didn't feel like asking her for her name. So
That's true. Her name's Tweedle, if you had to know.
there we go.
Daughter is banging on the glass, and you hear very muffled, "I told you so! I told you so! This is what's happening right now! It's happening!"
You also called me Tweedle Dumbass. Maybe if you'd been nicer, I would have listened. Lloyd's fucking booking for it. He's out. He's fucking done. I built Lloyd around having like 2 tricks that he does. One of them is getting somewhere and shooting people, and the other one is this. The dad came out from his room. He's like a little ways down the hall, right?
Yeah.
The way that I need to go. So what Lloyd is going to do is use a couple of the abilities that he has.
Nice.
So the ability he has is called Blade Dancer. And what that allows me to do is to move while making an acrobatics check. And based on the acrobatics check and the difficulty and everything going on with that, get a bonus to an attack roll.
Dang.
As part of that movement. 1/4 of the DC of the acrobatics check rounded up.
Nice.
I'd like the acrobatics check to be for the purpose of like jumping out of the way, bouncing off of the walls, springing around to get away from these two guys, while I am also charging at the dad, at Kevin.
Go for it. Teach Kevin a lesson.
All right. I didn't roll great on the acrobatics. I do have expertise, so it became a 12.
Kevin is not, he was not a warrior man by any means. So yeah, you're able to best him with a 12.
All right, cool. I get to then add 1/4 of that to my attack damage.
Whoa.
Equal to 1/4 of the DC of the acrobatics check. So that's going to be +3 damage. And because I am sort of moving past him as I'm doing this, this would be considered a charging attack within Apotheosis.
Oh, that's right.
Which means I also get to add 1/10 of my movement speed to the damage, which would be another +3. So if I can hit him as I go by, I will be getting a total of +6 to my damage. So let's see if I hit, because I don't have really any bonuses to attacking with my dagger, but we'll give it a shot. That's a 15.
Yeah, you hit Kevin with a 15.
All right, so he is taking 1d3 +6 damage for my dagger. Shit, that's max. Okay, so he is taking 9 damage from my dagger.
Oh, shit.
He doesn't have a lot of EP, obviously, so he's gonna take a pretty serious wound there.
And because I am using a tri-bladed dagger, he has a -3 penalty to his death save if I deal any wounds.
Ouch.
Oh, shit.
He rolled a 1.
Fuck you, Kevin!
Yeah. Give me a little flavor here. How does this come out?
Yeah, so Lloyd has been informed that there's something like in the back of this guy's head or whatever. So as he like ducks out of the way of Josen's arms, and then Dean lunges in and he like jumps up and kicks off the wall to start building momentum, and he uses that to just like scamper partway down the hall. He like kicks off of another wall, and as Kevin comes out of the room, he just draws his dagger and plants it in the side of his head as he's going past, and uses that as like another point to swing off and keep running.
As the dagger plants into the back of the head, you hear a series of what sounds like chittering and clicks coming out of Kevin's mouth, certainly confirming there is something in his skull. You hear similar sounds coming from Dean and also Josen as they follow you. You make your way out into the outpost proper and see that several of the residents and settlers are out there waiting for you. But you are a nimble rat folk. You're able to make your way out towards the outskirts of town, heading out into the pass that leads behind Thir Lodar. You look back one more time as you make your way into the woods, seeing that a group of about maybe 30 individuals is now standing at the edge of town looking at you. In the crowd, one of them says, "It doesn't matter. The cold will get them. The cold will get all of them."
Suck my ass, buttheads!
Oh, fuck that. Go get him. No, we're going after him now.
Oh, shit!
So as this is a special episode of 2 Weeks, One Shot, we just played Apotheosis. Now we're going to mix in the review aspect of 2 Weeks, One Shot here and do a quick couple times around the table. So on this first one, why don't we go ahead and give some initial impressions of Apotheosis as a system?
First thing I would like to say is that this game obviously is still like not fully released yet. We have a pre-release copy, so there are probably things that will be in the final version of the game that we haven't seen, haven't gotten to experience or play around with. There might be some changes between now and then, but initial impression is that I think that this is a very neat sort of take on vaguely like the 5th edition D&D chassis, that core idea of, roll the D20, add your modifiers, but they're tweaking it, and they're tweaking it in a way that definitely goes beyond like there are campaign settings for 5e and there's like homebrew classes and third party, things like that. This definitely goes a step beyond all of that to make its own system out of that sort of core chassis. And I think it's a system that does some things really, really well for a more fine-tuned experience than 5e. I think as we saw in the game, it's definitely potentially a lot more brutal and deadly in a lot of ways. It's definitely sort of that gritty, I would liken it to sort of a like lower fantasy, not necessarily lower fantasy, but like a sword and sorcery take on the 5th edition idea of, rules and everything.
I really appreciate how there are a lot of options when creating a character, but it's not difficult and you don't feel overwhelmed. As Brian and I were talking about kind of before we started recording, it is a kind of a modular system. So being able, like having the freedom as a player to kind of create whatever sort of character I want is really nice. That can often run into a place, though, where you have too many options. I think they curtail that really well with this by setting some prerequisites for taking certain abilities. So you only have a few options that you can start off with. You can still kind of make a base of a character that takes whatever sort of form you want to using their starting points, which is really great.
I don't think we can stress it enough, right? There are no classes in this game, right? You're not building a cleric, you're not building a sorcerer, you're not building a wizard, right? You pick a species, you pick from there a background, and that gives you a base set of attributes which you then build off of, right? So depending on your species, you might have an innate magical ability, which gives you the ability to cast magic. But if you have the intelligence prerequisite, you're able to start casting magic. So one of the things we didn't get into is progression in this, which obviously it's the format we have doesn't have much for progression as far as building a character, but right, I could see in the long term it'd be interesting the options that you have to spec out to different classes. And they offer, there's a whole section in this book that offers late game sort of advice on how to put this character together, which I think is really a big strength in this. And right, I liked combat in this. I enjoy anything that's gonna add some flavor to just, instead of I roll, I miss, and that's it, right? And instead of just narrative flavor, there's an actual mechanic for, okay, well, you hit, well, I still have options on my end as the recipient of pain to get out of pain or to avoid something, right? Or soak it in some way. I think that's really cool. So for the next question, how about what mechanic or concept that Apotheosis introduced that you like the most? And if you want to tell us why also.
I'd actually kind of like to build off of what you were just saying there, Alex, about combat. Kind of a fresh take on a D20 system in combat, because you not only have your defense, which is like your armor, your ability to not take a hit, but then you have the EP, which you can spend to avoid the damage that you would take. And that's a limited resource. It's kind of like a stamina pool almost. So you do have to be careful about how you use that. And we saw, or we heard earlier, I made a risk to not spend all of my EP, hoping to squirrel some away for the next hit. And that ended up costing me my character's life because I took more damage than I was able to save against with my death save. So it is, it's a really fresh take on that combat scenarios that, that other than what we have seen in D&D, where it's like you're just kind of chipping away at the person's health. This time you have the stamina pool, you have the death saves against that, and that all kind of like, fits together in a nice little package that matters and makes each hit a potential threat to, each time I take damage as a character, that's a potential threat to my life, which 5e kind of struggles with a lot, but is very well done here.
I think I made the comparison earlier in the game that, right, that's like, it's Game of Thrones, Khal Drogo getting cut on his chest, right? It doesn't hurt a lot, but it eventually leads to death. Like, right, I like that there's kind of a system that can make that sort of thing happen. Right? You might have just gotten nicked on the side of your neck, but if enough of that wound goes past your EP availability, right? Well, that wound can potentially kill you, right? You might have just gotten nicked on the side of the neck, but then it turns into they actually cut an artery, right? Now you're bleeding out. I think that's a really, really cool thing to add. But also, I'm a big proponent of getting rid of playing a system that is classless in general. I feel like I get to make less of a build and more of a character, which is something I like in other systems like Savage Worlds, where right, I'm determining attributes, and then from there I get to really put my own spin on whatever kind of character this is. In this instance, I don't think I did anything too interesting, but I could see how in the long term you can really, really make a pretty unique sort of build for the type of character that you might want to give a try to.
Mechanically, I think something that this game is trying to do that it's succeeding at and is an important thing to include, in my opinion, is flexibility in what those options do. Because like we've talked about how you have the options of building your character, you have all these abilities to choose from, and then if you go into spell casting, you have a lot of spells, but they're trying to make sure that all of those things are very sort of flexible in how they're used. Like spells can potentially do a number of different things or affect a number of different people solely depending on how much mana you're putting in. You don't have to have a separate spell for making 5 people jump versus making 1 person jump. You don't have to have a separate spell for, shooting that cold beam that does damage, but you could easily use the book. They're trying to encourage GMs and players to think creatively with things like that and use your cold beam to freeze something or to, create ice in any situation where it might be useful. Likewise, the Blade Dancer ability that I brought up at the end, that isn't something specific like, when you tumble past an enemy to avoid an opportunity attack, you can hit them for more damage. Or when you jump down from above, you do more damage. It's anytime you're making an acrobatics check as part of, you can do that action to move with that and attack someone. And that's really nice to see because it gives a lot of tools for the players and the game master to have with just, having more exciting things, having every turn of combat, every roll, every spell cast be a little more interesting than just, okay, I roll and see how much damage I do. And if I can add real quick concept-wise, I like a lot of the world building that they have going on. The pre-release book that we have doesn't have like a ton of setting information, but a lot of it is sort of hinted at through like the species notes and languages and things like that. And I absolutely love the thing going on in this adventure apparently was neurocytes. And I absolutely love the idea of those.
Yeah.
I came this close when we were making characters for this. Lloyd was what I went with ultimately because I wanted to, do the tricks he had and showcase a little bit of spellcasting. But I was considering like, man, I could just build a caster to really showcase that. And I was this close to making a neurocyte who was just hiding out in someone's body and pretending to be the local hedge mage or something.
Human Huck was a neurocyte. When Dane met his unfortunate end, I quickly sent Mike over that character sheet to work as a character of that. And I was actually messaging him on the side saying, right, you feel a telepathic link with the father in the interrogation room. And the father let him know, like, hey, I think the daughter's on to me.
Yeah.
So that was actually pretty exciting. I really liked having a double agent sort of thing going on there. But yeah, the concept of the neurocyte class is...
them as like a species of playable character. Like, yeah, you can just be like a little bug that infests people's heads. And people hate you if they find out it's you.
That concept is wild. So wild.
And like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's a neat character idea that oftentimes doesn't become an option for players in a fantasy game.
Mm-hmm. Very much calling back to my days of reading fucking Animorphs books as a kid, like the yerks or whatever they were that crawled in people's ears and shit. Yeah, it was a lot of fun when you sent that over to me. Like, ooh, cool! I can mess around with this some and have some fun.
You're still in the game. Let's make just any last comments or feedback that we'd like to highlight. I'll start off first. I think overall I enjoyed the system. It was good on my end. This is maybe a unique problem to just me. I did have a little bit of an issue with just kind of solidifying some of these concepts in time to play this game, but that's because we have such short amount of time and the tiny hamster that runs my brain is exhausted. So kind of the barrier to entry was a little rough. I think it took me a second to figure out how death saves worked, only because that vernacular is so specific in other TTRPGs that hearing it as something that happens on a repeated basis often, right? Anytime your character is wounded. And then how that plays with EP and then how EP plays with defense, all of that was a lot to absorb. I could see how someone who is not as crazy busy as us could absorb that very easily, right? But my limited brain power, I couldn't. And I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of worrying about encumbrance weights, but I know that plays a big part in how you calculate your movement. You really do have to tally up how your weight is. You have to tally up what's your max encumbrance weight, and then that affects your movement speed there and out. And right, that's probably something you don't have to worry about if you don't want to, right? Same thing how terrain is something you could probably avoid, but whatever. We included it. We did the math. It made for an interesting encounter, but it was definitely I like games that don't have a huge barrier to entry, and this didn't feel like it was a huge barrier to entry, but certainly learning it on a limited time frame for something to play in a short amount of time was a little tough. But overall, freedom of making characters, the interesting way that everything kind of all the systems intertwine with each other, and the modular nature of it, I think is fantastic.
This is definitely like a pretty enjoyable game. I definitely had fun, making a character for it, going through. It presents a different sort of experience than I think a lot of the more common fantasy RPGs out there are offering right now. It's a little more grounded in a lot of ways. I would recommend this game for anyone who, if you've ever been playing 5e, but you're thinking, I wish there were more options. I wish this were more crunchy, to use like the typical game language. This game is definitely a crunchier 5e. That does mean that, you're going to have a little more small calculations of things. There's a lot more math involved with 1/4, 1/3, little bonuses here and there. But I think that it handles that pretty well. And if that is your cup of tea, you would really enjoy it. Probably the only thing I'd really highlight that I noticed was that the abilities system is really neat, and it's a really interesting way to make a character, to have that modular option of picking and choosing different things instead of, just having them given to you in your class. I think it is a little rough when making a brand new character out the gate that abilities are gated at any attribute you have at 3 and higher, just because you only get those attribute points from species and your background. You don't have any to just sort of assign yourself, which I think is something that could be tweaked. And like I said, this is a pre-release copy, very well may be tweaked by the time this game comes out in full. Just something I noticed as, the idea of the game being that you have all of these character options, and you do, but when you're first making a character, some of the math feels a little clunky in terms of how you get different things like your EP and your abilities. So it does feel like you're sort of guided towards making more standard characters. You're gonna make your rat folk a thief. You're gonna make your fighter an orc. Things like that. Just little things that could be tweaked, and like I said, very well may be. I think it does a great job of making those abilities count, and I think it does have the ability for you to make characters that you can't make otherwise. A lot of games, like Lloyd as a character, being, from very get-go, sneaky archer who also casts spells, there are very few systems that you would be able to do that right out the gate.
I enjoyed that when creating a character, there wasn't much, I didn't have to do any dice rolling or anything like that. It was all very simple math. I chose the species, the stats were this, and this. They were all laid out. Did a little bit of math with the deer folk on top of the Antherian, but again, it's adding +1 here, +1 there, stuff like that. So it was all very simple and easy to put together, which was really great in terms of needing to make a character on the fly. I can sit down and make a character in 5 minutes, which is great. And that's not something that a lot of D20 systems do or a lot of tabletop RPG systems do. It's a little bit more involved in that, which is excellent. As Alex said, there is a little bit of extra math that goes into some things that I guess a little confusing to me, or things that I had to sort of move around in my my brain box to make sense of. Expertise was something that I kind of struggled with a little bit initially, because I'm so used to that phrasing from 5e of expertise does, double the proficiency. Well, here it's 1.5 times the score. So it's just kind of, swapping the phrases around in my head to make them mean something else, essentially. And that is, I guess that's kind of one of the problems that I ran into, is there are a lot of terms in Apotheosis that have overlap in other tabletop RPGs, and especially with D&D 5e, where it was having to remind myself that, no, this is a different thing. It doesn't work like the 5e system that I'm used to playing very regularly, which is not a bad thing, but it was something that I had to consciously make an effort to adjust in my brain and while playing the game as well. Overall, yeah, like we said, I mean, a lot of great customization options, a lot of cool new species. I mean, deer folk, rat folk, fox folk, that's not something that you see as a base package in a lot of things, but also including the sort of standard, quote unquote, standard races, humanoid races like orcs and dwarves and humans and all of that, and elves and so forth. So yeah, a lot of really cool options, a lot of ways to adjust those options to sort of make a character that you are interested in playing right out the gate. As Brian said, just being able to, craft something unique to you from like effectively first level, even though there aren't exactly like levels in this game. Like it's kind of the same concept there.
So that's Apotheosis, or at least a very small chunk of it. We hope you had fun listening to today's adventure, and if you're interested in checking out Apotheosis, head on over to apotheosisrpg.com. That's apotheosisrpg.com. Also, just a big thank you to Ian Tassin for reaching out to us and asking us if we'd like to play this pre-launch and giving us the opportunity to give it a spin. Apologies, I included headbutt holes in your game, but it was unavoidable. It's canon now.
Accept it.
So, Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell folks where they can find you?
Yeah, and again, thank you all so much for having me on. It was a blast getting to game with you all today, and looking forward to doing so in the future as well. But yeah, again, I'm Mike Daniel. I'm the host of 19 Hits the Dragon, available wherever you get your podcasts. And if it's not somewhere that you typically get your podcast when you search up 19 Hits the Dragon, find me on Twitter at 19 Hits the Dragon, all one word using the number 19. The show is a discussion podcast about tabletop RPGs. Alex and Brian were actually on the first episode of season 2. So you can go check out the conversation that we have about crafting one-shots and a number of other topics. I have new guests every 2 weeks or so. We actually just wrapped the second season, and there'll be more on the way in the near future. But yeah, check it out.
We're looking forward to hearing the rest of the season, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we did a secret side project that I'm not going to talk about, but I'm going to hint at. Also, thank you, Brian, for taking some time out of your day to join us on our show, which you're part of.
Aww.
I love you.
Yeah, I don't. This isn't time out of my. This is what we do.
Thank you.
It's contractually obligated, actually.
I'm just trying to make sure that my family is okay, Alex. You sent some very vague and concerning messages making sure I would be here today.
And if you want to hear and learn more about 2 Weeks One Shot, go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search TWOS Cast. That's TWOS Cast. We have a variety of one-shots played in different systems, and we're just a bunch of idiots, so it's kind of funny. Really, just pick any adventure, give us a listen, and if you like us, tell your friends about us, and maybe Brian's family will make it out safely. I don't know. Take care, everybody.
Alex, if my family members have head buttholes when we're done with this, I'm going to be very upset.
Ooh. Oh, this is going to be awkward when I let them go.